lot's going to be said about Andrew Demetriou and his career today by a lot of people who are more qualified than me, but I just wanted to talk about it from the context of his contribution to Port Adelaide. There were two things that I remember specifically in our relationship with him. August 2011 was about when I started here at the club, and we were in awful trouble, very difficult situations. And I remember Andrew coming out really aggressively to media reports about our viability and long-term position in the AFL, saying that he could not imagine an AFL competition without Port Adelaide in it. And I thought that was a really strong statement of leadership and a very comforting thing to say from this club's point of view. And the second most significant issue for us was his role in getting us to Adelaide Oval. So not only did he stabilise the ship with his words, but he was a principal member of the team that negotiated the opportunity for us to take footy back to Adelaide Oval, which changes the financial model for Port Adelaide and will ensure that our long-term financial security is there. So for us, he's been a great friend of this football club, a great administrator for the AFL, and we are better off for him being in the chair.
How much did it help, that journey you've been through the last few years to feel like you had someone in your corner in AFL House?
Well, the AFL have always been absolutely rock solid in their support for Port Adelaide. I haven't had a single conversation where they haven't been helpful, supportive, and a friend of this club.
As you said, those comments from Demetriou 3 years ago, that took a fair bit of heat off, just having that support from AFL House?
Well, it did. I think it was because there was so much commentary at the end of 2011. It occurred again in 2012, but in 2011, it was before any of the reforms had begun, really. And for the head of the league to come out and just put it to rest, I thought was fundamentally important to the club's with the confidence of the people at the club, and I think it did ease the pressure and made us keep focusing on that long-term solution.
Do you think you had a soft spot for footy in South Australia? Because he said that one of his career highlights was bringing footy back to Adelaide.
I'm not sure. I think that you could probably look at all of the different areas across the land. He's been significant in driving football up into New South Wales and Queensland. He has a very soft spot for the Indigenous game. So I'm not sure that Adelaide is any more special, but he does have a great passion for the game, and it's always come through in his dealings with us.
So when you look at his legacy, what stands out to you? Is it those two things?
I think so. I think that the thing that I've always really regarded about the AFL is their preparedness to stick to their guns. Now, moving into Sydney and then Queensland and then West Sydney take long-term vision and a great deal of commitment under a lot of resistance. You remember the early days of the Sydney Swans, enormous difficulties. Now, it wasn't Andrew, but subsequent decisions have been him, and so his commitment to grow the game, I think, are probably the things that I think he'll be remembered for most.
Could you comment on the leading candidates to replace him?
Not really. I think that they'll go through due process, but I have no insight into that.
Would you put your hand up for any role in the AFL?
I wouldn't be the slightest bit interested. It's just not really what I want to do.
Without that support back then and that confidence, do you fear that Port would have been headed in a different direction to what it is today?
I'm not sure. I think that sometimes you just need to hear it, and the broader football community needs to hear it. And he spoke at a time where Port Adelaide was on its knees, and that made a difference.
Because there was talk back then of Port being shipped off to Tassie from memory.
Well, I don't think there was talk from the AFL. There was certainly media speculation and a bit of mischief around. But again, this is where good leadership steps in, when you actually, you're uncategorical. It's in your deliberations and statements, and that's what he made it absolutely clear. Port Adelaide was here to stay.
So just
Last couple.
Yeah, so just to ask you about the SADA investigation with Angus Monfries. Now, he wasn't named
No.
as one of those players. So where does that leave him?
Well, I'm not sure. We are really just waiting to hear how that whole process will play out, and he will cooperate fully as he has done, and for us it's just business as usual.
Obviously, it's good news though that he hasn't been mentioned as one of those possible.
Well, I think it's really
to move the goalposts at all for him, or
well. I don't know. He made a statement in full cooperation, and I don't think it changes anything for him. I think it's really unfortunate that names were bandied around across the weekend, and and I'm really pleased that Angus wasn't amongst them. But beyond that, I think it's pretty much business as usual.
Just footy back at Albion, can I just ask one?
Yeah.
After 16 years, looking forward to that?
We are looking forward to that, actually. I think that our fans will really enjoy the opportunity to see AFL at Albion, and we look forward to welcoming Richo back. That'll be good to see him, and it should be a good game. Should be a great day, I think.
Expect a big crowd?
Yeah, I think so. We got several thousand for our family day when it was an internal trial and 46 degrees or something. So we're hoping we'll get a really good turnout.